All information in this program is known to be accurate at the time of recording. Any commentary by the host is for discussion purposes only. Anyone labeled a person of interest by the host or family has not been charged with a crime. All suspects charged with crimes related or unrelated to a case covered are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Opinions and views expressed by the host do not represent views of the families or sponsors of this program. In the U.S., there are over 600,000 missing person cases reported each year. Many go unnoticed by the general public and are not covered by the media or investigated by law enforcement. Here is just one of these stories. From Grim Media, I'm your host, Steve Stone, and this is the Grim Truth Podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 35 of the Grim Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Stone. Today we're going to talk about the case of Carroll Hines. But before we do that, if you haven't done so already and you want to help be involved of looking and helping the missing, advocating for them, there's only one thing you need to do. Subscribe to the Grim Truth Podcast YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the podcast or any other content related to the missing and the murder. Smash that like button and leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing. It will only take one person to break any of these cases wide open, and you never know who's watching, and you could be that individual that helps bring their loved one home to them. Carroll Hines went missing on September the 14th, 2021 from Benton, Arkansas. He's 65 years of age, 5'8", 165 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. Now, Thomas, or Tommy as everybody affectionately calls him, suffers from dementia. He will require medical attention. He was last seen wearing a gray shirt and gray shoes, and that was near the area of Allgood Street there in Benton, Arkansas. Thomas' case, like many, many others, has a degree of mismanagement, failed processes, and the family will tell you, and you'll hear, that they feel that law enforcement has let them down. Now, a lot of times, and especially in this case, there are questions about hearsay, about things that people hear through the grapevine that might not necessarily can be proven. However, when you hear things so much, it's the old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire. And that's the same thing here in this case. We're going to learn about the failed processes from law enforcement. We're going to learn about the people in Tommy's life and the loving and caring family, his son, his cousin, who just want answers and want him found. I had the pleasure not only to talk to Eugenia Sled, his cousin, but also Daniel Hines, his son. First, we're going to play our interview that we did with Eugenia as she discussed the type of person Tommy is and the things he was going through before he went missing. Take a listen.
He was a very good person. He cared about other people. He would do anything for anybody to help them. He was a good cousin. He protected me. Yeah, he hung around a lot with my other cousin, Max. They were like two peas in a pod. He has two sons, and I don't know what happened, but him and his oldest son had a falling out. And his youngest son and him got along very well. He liked to fish, and he liked being with his family. He took care of his mom. After he lost his brother and his dad, his mom was in very bad health, so he moved in with her and took care of her until she died. And that hit him hard. It gave him mental issues. He was married to Paula Nesson, and she said his dementia got so bad that she couldn't take care of him anymore, so they separated. She moved back to Texas, and somewhere along the line he got back in contact with an old girlfriend, Linda Adams, and that's where he was living.
Things for Thomas seem to went from, well, bad to worse. Having been diagnosed with dementia, obviously it was too difficult for his wife to handle. He's got to move out. He's got to find a place to live. And then he hooks up with, I guess, a longtime friend, Linda Adams, and they move in together. Now, everything that I've heard about Thomas, or Tommy, is he was a docile guy, loved animals, loved his dogs, and just an easygoing character. He loved wearing a beard because he wasn't really fond of how his chin looked like, and trust me, I know exactly how he feels. I have so many chins, I hide them with a beard, and he seemed just trying to just live his life. And this is where things kind of get murky. We're going to talk to Eugene, and she explains some of the things that were going on in his life right up before he went missing. Some of this stuff is completely speculative at this point. We don't know. But it's important that the story's out there from what, as the family knows. And that's why it's important. If the family hears things and you're trying to put two and two together, and again, Tommy had dementia, but depending on who you talk to, Tommy's dementia was, either he could remember if he, got lost, or he had trouble maybe talking or getting the words out. But depending on who you talk to, he was managing things, and we talk about that with his son. But listen to Eugene as she discusses the things that Thomas was going through while staying with Linda. Take a listen. How long had he been living with Linda at the 420 Aldgate Street before he disappeared?
Probably for several years. Not really sure exactly how long, but I know he had been there for a while. My aunt was talking about it.
Was Tommy complaining about having issues with anybody, or getting into skirmishes or arguments with anybody before he disappeared?
Yes, a guy named Eric Lamb. They got into it a lot. He lived with them, with Tommy and Linda, and they kicked him out because he was disrespectful and it's a lot of problems. And after that, he threatened to come back and rob them. He threatened to kill Tommy to his face, and Daniel was there. Daniel lived with Tommy and Linda for a while, and Daniel was there when Eric threatened him. I know he was into drugs. He got arrested for meth and weapons.
Does anybody know how Tommy went missing, and how'd you guys find out?
There's been several stories. I found out, my brother called me and asked me if I saw it on the news that Tommy was missing, and I said, no way. So I looked it up. I Googled it, or got on the news channel, and looked it up, and I read it there. Well, after that, then I started kind of investigating on my own, trying to find out what happened. And Linda told In the police report, Linda told the police that he walked away from home, that they had been into an argument, and he left. She said he didn't take his wallet or his phone, so he didn't have any money. He had a checking account, and he had Daniel to take him to close his checking account because he said Linda was stealing money from him.
How long did it take from the time he went missing until the time he was reported?
She waited almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes.
And nobody told so the only way the family knew was via the news?
Yes.
She didn't bother contacting anybody in his family.
No.
So we're gonna have to unpack some of this, but I just don't understand something. This is what boggles my mind. No one has to wait 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 days. You report the person missing immediately, especially if they have a condition like dementia, Alzheimer's, special needs. Why are you waiting? Furthermore, my question is, why wasn't a family member notified? Why did a family member have to find out that Thomas Hines was missing from the news? Not Linda. The news. Are you kidding me? This is the problem. This is why cases don't get solved. This is why people don't get found. This is why cops generally don't care, because there was no caring when he went missing. Nobody stepped up and said, "Oh, shucks, Thomas went for a walk and he didn't come back. He didn't take his cell phone. He didn't take his car keys. He doesn't have any money. Maybe I should tell somebody." What? Now, we can pile on, and it's well deserved, obviously, at this point, because we have a man who has dementia, 65 years of age, and he goes for, from what we're being told, a walk, or he leaves, and we wait to report him. It makes no sense. Let's introduce you to, this is Eric Lamb. Eric Lamb has an extensive criminal history, drug possession, gun charges. He is currently in a county jail awaiting to be sent to prison. And this is the gentleman who had been coming over to Linda's, where Tommy was staying at. And this guy, heavy into methamphetamine. I mean, that's his life. And from what we are being told by the family, he would be allowed in because Linda and he would be consuming the methamphetamine. Now, it is the family's take on it that Tommy didn't like the dope, and from what we heard, he didn't even like Linda drinking, and he definitely didn't like Eric. There was no love lost between the two. And Eric supposedly made these threats that, he was going to kill Tommy, and that, or he was going to come back and rob the place. There was a falling out, and apparently Linda did the right thing and wouldn't allow him to come back. Now, is this a possibility that he might have had something to do with Tommy's disappearance? It's possible. A threat was made. There was witness to the, and we're gonna, in a minute here, we're gonna go and listen to Daniel. Daniel explains what happened with regards to his dad and Eric. But Eric Lamb is not a nice guy, and there are stories of him telling people that he took care of Tommy Hines. Again, we have no concrete evidence. We don't know that this was said. We've only heard stories. He has not been charged with anything. To my knowledge, he has been questioned, but that's as far as it went. But he's not a suspect. He's not a person of interest. I want to clear that up. As far as the police are concerned. Now, I have my own thoughts on this, but we're going to hear from Daniel Hines, Tommy's youngest son, and he discusses the relationship and the dynamic between Eric and Tommy and some of the other things that were going on in that house. Stay with us.
Linda told me that she had heard through someone else that he was going to come over there and rob him because my dad always wanted him to leave, and I made him leave a couple times. Like I told him, Anyway, he said he was going to rob him, so I said, all right, well, let me just hang out here for a little while and see if he really robbed y'all. And a little bit later, when I heard him come to the door, he just walked in like he owned the place, And I walked to the front door and I didn't let him in. I said, when he started to say something to me, I said, no, man, you need to leave where your legs work, dude. Ain't nobody gonna rob my dad. I'm not gonna stand for that. There's one thing I'm very irate about, and that's my blood family, I'd worked every day that week and I didn't make it over there for like about a week. I had a day off and I rode my bicycle over there. I told him I had a new dog and I was going to show it to him because when Dad lived with me before that, we both had a dog and they both passed away around the same time. And we was talking about getting another dog, so I was going to show him my dog or whatever. But I get over there and she said, he's not with you? And I said, no. No, he's not with me. He's not with my brother. I just came from over there. I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, I thought he was with y'all. He left about a week ago. And I thought that was really messed up, And I said, well, don't you think it's time that we look for him, make a missing persons, do anything besides sit on our ass?
Right.
I got kind of pissed off at her when she said it had been a week. Because, he had dementia, but he wasn't so far off that he couldn't just, he could go to the store, he could walk all around Benton and come back. It just, how it affected him was like his speech, like how me and you are talking right now, this would take him a while,
The worst thing that can happen in a missing persons case is waiting. The longer you wait, the harder it is. The longer you wait, the clues disappear. The longer you wait, the leads run dry. And in a case like this, where potentially the dementia could completely become more of a hindrance as time goes on. But it's not just that. Delaying, for whatever the reason is, whether it be miscommunication or lack of attention to the fact that he's gone, it makes it 10 times difficult. Moreover, the other issue I have, and I haven't spoken to Linda yet, and I plan on it, but my issue is, even if she thought, like we heard in the comment that Daniel, Tommy's son, stated, that, you know, she thought that he might have been with Daniel. Now, even if he didn't have a cell phone, Tommy, there's other ways you can get in touch with people. We live in an age where it's pretty easy to get in touch with folks. Why wasn't, you couldn't check? Or is it that she just didn't care? That's where I'm going with it. I'm not saying she had anything to do with his disappearance. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that there's a lack of empathy here. There's a lack of, I give a crap that, he's missing and he's gone. And one more caveat to this, and I'll have it explained in Eugenia's words, is the stories, the different scenarios that have been perpetrated by Linda. Take a listen to this.
And she also told that she was in the car with Tommy, and they were on South Street, and they got into an argument. He got out of the car, and she drove off and left him. The other day when I talked to her, she said he was hungry, and she went in the kitchen to fix him something to eat, and he went outside. She said she thought he went out to pet the cats. When she went outside, she said he was gone. So, I believe she knows what happened.
So, there's obviously plenty of blame to go around for the Thomas Hines case. Obviously, the fact that it wasn't communicated that he was missing, totally hurt this case. The different stories also don't help. The possibility that there was some kind of violence perpetrated by Eric Lamb because of the threats. But the police department also has a responsibility here, because when it finally got around to reporting him missing, they don't issue an amber or silver alert. I'm sorry, nothing. The story was in the press, was on the news, which is obviously how the family found out. But no alert was done, and I contacted the Benton PD, and I asked why a silver alert hadn't been issued. And to quote the detective, "We hadn't thought about that," end quote. I don't get that at all. I asked Eugenia about the response and the communication she's had with law enforcement.
And she also told that she was in the car with Tommy, and they were on South Street, and they got into an argument. He got out of the car, and she drove off and left him. The other day when I talked to her, she said he was hungry, and she went in the kitchen to fix him something to eat, and he went outside. She said she thought he went out to pet the cats. When she went outside, she said he was gone. So, I believe she knows what happened.
Have there been any searches for Tommy at all?
Well, Detective Ritchie said he searched the woods over there by the house on Allgood, and he walked down the stream. And as far as I know, that's all he's done. I asked him if he could get cadaver dogs and go search, and I told him places that Tommy took shortcuts through the woods because he walked or rode a bicycle everywhere he went, and he knew the woods like the back of his hands. Even with his dementia, he probably still could remember all that. He told me he would check the woods. I've called the man 6 times, and he hasn't returned my call.
What do you think the cops need to do with this case that it obviously is not being done? In your opinion, what What do you think needs to happen?
Well, they know the names of all the people that Eric came in contact with. They know all the people that Linda came in contact with. They need to question them hard. They need to question Linda hard. Daniel said the day he went over there, Linda was acting very strange and shaking, like she was scared to death, and then she told him the police were there questioning her. He said that made him think that she was involved in it. So he has talked to the police. I have talked to the police. My aunt's sister-in-law, Tommy's mother's sister-in-law, Cindy, has been talking to the detective. We've all been posting things. They know something's going on. They need to find out. It breaks my heart.
If you could speak to anyone out there that might have information on what happened to Tommy, what would you want to say to them?
If you know where he's at, if you know what happened, please come forward. We need to know. We need answers.
The grim truth about finding Thomas Carroll Hines is this got screwed up from the jump. The failure to report him missing immediately, the different stories, and the lack of empathy, and whether it's training, whether it's overwork and underpay mentality, whatever the case may be, everything that's supposed to help in a case like this has failed Thomas Carroll Hines and his family. No silver alert. He's endangered. They didn't think about it. And now we're going on almost a year that this gentleman is missing. Now, I want to make sure that I correct a couple of things. Linda has not spoken to law enforcement other than making the report. She has not been questioned regarding Thomas's disappearance. Eric Lamb, according to the Benton Police Department, Detective Ritchie, he spoke to Eric Lamb, and Eric Lamb says he had nothing to do with it. Now, that could all be very well and good, and it's quite possible that Eric didn't have anything to do with it and that he was all talk. But I don't understand why, with the different stories that have been told, why the police haven't spoken to Linda. And if Linda has spoken to the police outside of reporting Thomas missing, I'd like to hear about it. We would like to hear about it, and Linda's more than welcome to contact me and we can discuss it on the record. But the family has not had any progress or any relief from law enforcement. And this is why cases don't get solved. If I know here in Florida and in other states, if an elderly person, especially with Alzheimer's or with any type of dementia, they're on the news, their silver alerts are on the interstates, their faces are plastered all over the place, and this was not the case in Thomas's missing persons case, and it's a failure of the system. It's failed, and it needs to change. I've talked about it. It needs to change. And in Arkansas especially, when there are so many missing people and murdered people, it's time for the families to come together, to group together, and become the loudest voice in the room and say, look, enough is enough. And wag your finger in the face of the elected officials law enforcement, and anybody else that will listen, because nothing is going to change. The attitude is not going to change. The training is not going to change unless voices are heard. And I hope that I can facilitate these families in Arkansas getting together, the DeWeese family, the Ashton Blake Campbell family, the name escapes me right now. All these Arkansas cases, Savannah Elliott, all these other cases in Arkansas. I'm forgetting a couple more, but get together and become a group. Take these negatives, turn them into positives, and Arkansas must pay attention. This is an epidemic, and something has to change. And you heard it from Eugenia, Thomas's cousin. They're in pain right now. I talked to Daniel. He's in pain right now. This is a living nightmare that many families go through. And this is a case that could have been and should have been on the news more, reported when it needed to be reported, and this all could have been avoided. More must be done. And I hope that everyone out there watching this right now, you're sharing it, especially all of those that follow me in Arkansas, can step up, share this, and get it out there so we can help find Thomas. Thomas Carroll Hines again went missing from Benton, Arkansas on September the 14th, 2021. He's 65 years of age, 5'8", 165 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. His beard may be longer. He suffers from dementia and would need medical attention immediately if anybody sees him. Again, he was last seen wearing a gray t-shirt and gray tennis shoes. Last seen near the Allgood Street area in Benton. If you have any information on the disappearance of Thomas Carroll Hines, or you know somebody that has information on Thomas Carroll Hines, please contact the Benton Police Department at 501-776-5957. Again, that's 501-776-5957. And if need to, you can remain anonymous. I would also say that you can also contact me, Steve Stone at thegrimtruth.com. That's Steve Stone at thegrimtruth.com. My email will be in the description, and a link in the description below. You can email me also if you have any information, and I will forward it to law enforcement. Before I go, I would like to introduce something to you that I'm able to start now as I've partnered with YouTube. And that, how would you like to become a producer of the Grim Truth Podcast? You can help produce this show and support our show for as little as $3 a month. You can support me on Patreon, patreon.com. Just go to www.patreon.com, search Steve Stone. I will put a description in the link below. You can donate $3, whatever you got, you can donate it. And if you do, I will make sure that you are on the credits at the end of each and every episode of the Grim Truth Podcast, and you will become a producer of the show. And we have a couple people that are doing that now, and I want to thank them for doing that. It's greatly appreciated. It helps keep the Grim Truth Podcast up and running, and I look forward to hopefully more people joining on and becoming producers, as well as other things that are going to be coming up very soon that I'm excited to talk about here on YouTube. Next week, we have another case in Arkansas, and this one's a doozy. This was probably going to be 2 parts. I'm still trying to fit it in, but this is part of our Murdered and Missed series. This is the episode 36, Murder is Not Accidental, Justice for Ashton Blake Campbell. This young man was found dead on Lake Ludwig, on the banks of Lake Ludwig, and it was anything but accidental. This will be next Monday, episode 36 of the Grim Truth Podcast, Murdered in Mysteries. Again, this may be 2 parts. There's a lot of information, and I want to make sure that we bring more attention to this case. My goal for this case and several others is to get the state police looking into these cases, including the as we did for Andrew DeWeese, the Thomas Carroll Hines case, Ashton Blake's Campbell's case, and the Savannah Elliott case, which I am currently working on, and that will be out hopefully later on this month. But please tune in next week for episode 36. That is going to do it for this episode of the Grim Truth Podcast. I would like to thank Terry Burton for her wonderful job on this case, helping me research. I would like to thank Eugenia Sled, and I would like to thank Daniel Hines for speaking with us, allowing us to tell the story of Thomas Hines and getting the information out there to you. As we continue to be a voice for the voiceless in search of the truth, I'm Steve Stone, and this has been the Grim Truth Podcast. Goodbye.